10:24, I'll call the meeting back to order. Number 17, which is consideration of adopting a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a long-term service agreement with Water Remediation Technology, LLC WRT, for maintenance, media installation, media removal, and decommissioning of the WRT radium removal system for a 10-year term to include an annual base treatment charge of $115,000 and no dollars, and base volume charges of 59 cents per 1,000 gallons of base volume. Charges adjusted annually for inflation as provided therein and related documents. Mr. Dixon. Who pulled this? Charlotte? And Charlotte and Don?
Don.
One of y'all want to get started, and we'll have Ricky answer the questions.
Go ahead, Don.
All right, I'll take off. I know I came into all this well on its way as far as me being on the council, and I just had a couple of questions that I couldn't really get out of our background information. The base volume charge of 59 cents per 1,000, is that already included in our bills now, or would it be added on to our bills? Because I know it's just me and my wife, and even with that, that would increase our water bill about $30 a year.
Don, my understanding, and
Michael, I think the absolute clarity is, we're not talking about adjusting rates here. These are terms within the contract for the service provider.
and I think when they got the Hickory loan, that the rates that were set up to repay that included this. Is that correct?
Included an estimate that Will provided for costs, but it was a lump sum amount. So there will be, as we turn the plant on and operate, we get an idea what kind of power it's going to use, what kind of chemicals are going to be necessary. We'll have to refine that estimate. But what you see here as far as base rate and minimum charges, those have to do with the terms of the contract that we as the city will pay the vendor for the service they provide. It has nothing to do with the bills or the base rates and usage rates that we use to bill our customers.
Okay, so we're proposing a 10-year contract. So will that withstand for 10 years?
I think it's too early to answer that, Don. I don't think so.
Now, the question is about the terms of the contract, right?
Well, the term of the contract. In other words, I understand what you just said now, we're in good shape. But in 3, 5, 7, 10 years, are we going to have to go up and take this 59 cents back to the consumer?
Is your question about the rates we charge our water users, or is your question about the rates that this provider charges us?
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody has to pay that. So are we going to be paying it through our consumers, or is it already built into the loan estimate for the 10-year duration of the contract?
We built a lump sum in there, but it was just a lump sum, and Will was not specific about what he included or not. We are not proposing a rate increase at this time on this agenda item to cover this cost. However, to say that rates won't have to go up for 10 years would be probably inaccurate and probably irresponsible.
And I'm not talking about anything but this specific amount here for the 59 cents per 1,000, because that's expensive. That's way expensive.
And that rate, there's a inflationary price built into this contract. And also, as we developed and begin using that Hickory water, the base rate charges for the radium removal, if the strength of the radium is less than what we first anticipated, that charges will go down also. There's a factor in there, and of course, if the strength goes up, they will go up. So it can float a little bit.
Ricky, another thing to point out, of course, is that the Ivy water will be the largest water consumption that we'll be using.
Sure.
So this is really more of we get to a position of emergency, we need to use this water, we'll use it. So as far as water being treated, all water, of course, is only going to be Hickory, and we'll be using the majority of Hickory water, Ivy water for the most part. So.
Yeah, we'll use all the surface water that we have available before we get into our groundwater supply.
Right.
We will continue to bank this water in case of, like you said, an emergency situation. This is all we have. to rely on, so.
Then my next question is on the 115,000, is that an annual charge?
Yes.
Irregardless of the 59 cents? per
That's
thousand?
correct.
Okay, so we're gonna pay that whether we
use it or not, just for
Okay.
the availability of the media in case we need it.
Okay, and once again, it's in the same vein as far as we're not going to be looking at going up on our consumers' prices to cover this 115,000.
Well, I don't think we want to say that we're not going up to cover this, because if we go up, we'll be covering this and other items. And right now, I think from a financial perspective, we're counting on the rate study to help us identify what those ideal rates are and how we allocate those costs. One of the big topics in the last rate study had to do with residential versus commercial burden, and who should be bearing a bigger part of that burden. The estimate used to go up when we last raised rates for operation of this facility, that estimate was created before the facility design was even complete. And so, from a financial perspective, I'm very much counting on what I believe would be greater accuracy in determining those costs, those future costs, as it comes out of that study.
And we'll still be paying these same rates even if we blend the water, because the radium has to be produced.
Well, we can blend some of it if it doesn't go through the plant, but when we bring this plant online and do the startup, we're going to be using a small amount of this water. We can't just, we started, we've got to keep going. We can't cut it off. This media gets wet, we've got to keep using it. So there'll be some water going through it all the time.
Okay, so, all right, that pretty well answers that question. I mean, we're going to be paying the 59 cents a thousand and doing some minor blending with the reduction in the radium. We can't use the blending to reduce the radium without it going through the medium.
You can if you get the volume dry. But if it goes through the media, we'll be paying that 59 cents a thousand.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, in addition, one of the controls we have to make sure that we're not charging too much is the review we do twice a year. You remember, it was your suggestion that we review twice a year the fund balance. If that fund balance gets too big, we consider rebating or refunding or discounting rates in the future. The problem we've run into recently, though, is not that we've charged too much, it's that the revenue has been too low. And we don't really have a protection in place to protect that situation where revenue is too low. And so again, we're looking forward to the completion of that study to assist us with determining the best way to provide some protection there also.
Well, further comment? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I remember the proposal well, when we first looked at this in 2012, the first part of 2013, January of 2013, and there were 3 different proposals that we could choose from, and the one that this council chose was the 59 cents per 1,000 gallons, and that's if we take 5 million gallons a day from the Hickory, we're going to pay 59 cents per 1,000 gallons of that for the removal of the radium.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what we're paying. And I have that original agreement in your original notes from January 15th of 2013, and the agreement that was proposed at that time, and not anywhere in there does it mention, that I've been able to find, nor do I recall the $115,000 annual fee. It's not in there.
The original agreement, and I don't think it was included in the background information in the January meeting at council, but it's always been in that agreement. But the original agreement that we talked about was, that number was $90,000 for 6 million gallons a day. When we increased the number of wells that we were going to use and produce 9 million gallons a day, we increased the treatment and procured the equipment to treat an additional 2 million gallons a day. of that, and that's why the 90 went to 115, but that number, that original number of 90 has always been in there. And then it went to 115 when we increased it from the 6 to 8 million gallons a day.
But you agree with me that the 115 was never in the proposed amount in the agreement, and I didn't find the 90,000 in the original agreement to move forward this. It just upset me that it's 115,000 more a year added on top of, and I didn't find anything in there that said that 115 wouldn't be for 10 years. That rate doesn't move up. If it's in there, then somebody please call the location of it to me, because I didn't find it.
Ricky, my understanding is that the 115 is a minimum.
That's correct.
It's
It's a
at a
minimum
minimum.
charge. And then 59 cents a thousand on top of that.
Well, I ran some quick numbers, and unless my math fails me, which is entirely possible, that 59 cents per thousand spread paid over a certain number of acre feet yields 115,000. That number of acre feet is just shy of 600 acre feet per year. That sounds like a minimal use kind of scenario pulling from the well field. And so if there weren't a minimum charge and we ran 600 acre feet through there, that would give us that same amount.
So just to lump it up in big numbers, the $7,390,000 a year is approximately the cost per year that the Hickory is going to be, the charge to this company on the proposal. Is that correct?
Ask that question again, I'm sorry, Sean.
Well, I'm looking at the proposal that on the 59 cents, the estimated, quantity of water used will be the 11 million gallons at 59 cents, and that's the 6,490,000, and with the volume charge, which at the 90,000, it's 115 now, so that's going to be more, but then it was 900,000, but that makes the total proposal of $7,390,000.
And you said that was at the 11 million gallons a day?
No, the estimated quantity that they will clean. That's the estimated quantity of water that they're going to clean, that they gave that in the proposal.
Okay.
Is that per year or over the life of the system?
That's what I'm asking you. It says after 10 years, there's no charge, but that's for 10 years.
I'm sorry, what document are you looking at?
It's prepared for council on January 13th, and it's the proposal form of the radium removal process by this company. This WTR, water radium removal.
Right.
Do you remember this?
Ms. Harwood, I believe what you're looking at is, it also includes the equipment cost. So when those bids were opened in January of 2013, what we received was the equipment cost and the treatment and disposal cost, which is 59 cents per thousand, and the design cost at 150,000. There were three, like you said, there were three proposals that were based on minimum guaranteed amounts to WRT. And the one that was chosen was the one that guaranteed zero usage through the treatment facility, which would be would give the city the greatest advantage.
I don't want to be confused as to what we're approving today with what we looked at the beginning, that change to 115 instead of the 90. That's a change, and that makes our cost more. And I could not find anywhere in here that it allowed them to raise that on an annual basis, that was locked for 10 years. If that's not correct, then
you're correct on the long-term service agreement, back on that 11 million, it's 11 million thousand, so it's like 11 billion gallons, 59 cents a thousand. The 115 number invoice monthly is under Exhibit A of the proposal that is before you for approval today. So I guess you lost me on your question. I mean, everything that you said is correct.
I just want to talk about the true dollars here, the actual, to know what's going in, that we're going to be paying for regardless, and I'm not clear where the removal, the radium, where they're depositing it to. That's never been made clear to me that I can recall. I know they're going to put it in the, what do you call those big cylinder deals, and we can only store up to so many, but then we got to pay a price to haul it off. Is this 59 cents?
That's included in this.
Is included in
Right.
hauling it off to get
Yes.
it away from the site.
Right.
I want to make sure that we've talked about it, it's included in that.
It is.
115 is more, want to know why. And I could not find where they have the right in that 10 years to increase that 59 cents per thousand gallon. And if it's in there, somebody pointed out, I didn't find it. I mean, I like it if it's not there, but I don't want to just expect to have this to come back up.
In other words, you have the inflationary factor built into that, within the contract.
Right.
I know that looking at the agreement, my understanding, of course, was any water consumed, it's up to 1,000 gallons. If it's just 1,000 gallons, then it's 59 cents. We have the right to minimize the consumption of how much water is going to be treated, is my understanding of this contract. So if it's 1 million gallons per day or 500,000 gallons per day, in this agreement, we're allowed to do that without having a maximum that we have to use or a minimum that we have to use.
Right. There's a minimum charge of 115,000. It's under 3.1 in the financial terms of the agreement. Base treatment charge of 115,000 per annum, invoice monthly. Treatment charge of 59 cents per thousand, regardless of how much water goes.
Whether it's 0, 1,000, or a million.
A million or 6 million a day, or whatever that number is 59 cents. The 59 cents includes them bringing in the media, putting in the vessel, the changing of the media, and the haul off and the disposal of that media.
That's what I couldn't find, was where it talked about the haul off and disposal of that product. That was an unknown when we were talking about it. Now, if you're telling me that the 59 cents covers that and the 115,000 feet a year covers that, then I'm much more comfortable than I was when I was reading this
It does.
weekend.
You explained this earlier, and this was my understanding when you said it earlier perfectly, that it went up because we experienced the well field.
Right,
Went
we
from 90
increased the treatment from 6 million gallons a day to 8 million gallons a day. That's why the minimum charge went up from 90 to 115.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept it as presented.
Second.
Do we have a motion, or do we have a second? Any further questions from council?
I have my notes back. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment on this item? Not, I'm going to call for the vote. The vote is that we approve the $115,000 per year, 59 cents per thousand for treatment, determined by the amount of water that we treat in the facility. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, nay? Put 6 on that one, please, ma'am.